Hi everyone, and welcome to Poppa's Picks for Week 8 of the NFL season, brought to you by FantasyDonks.com, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know to start playing daily fantasy football. I'm Sean Big Poppa Williams, and like usual, I will be giving you the rundown of Poppa's Picks for this week to play in daily fantasy sports. It's an exciting week. We're at the halfway point, and DraftKings is offering the Millionaire Maker once again this week. Last week there was a huge amount of overlay, at like $76,000 of overlay. So we're going to fire again using the guys of DraftKings pricing for you to play the Millionaire Maker and hopefully optimize your lineup. Without further ado, let's go to the pick segment, which is first. We have the quarterbacks as always, and the top quarterback on the board I have for you this week is Aaron Rodgers. He's $9,000 and he's playing at the Saints on Monday Night Football. This is the, on Sunday Night Football. This is the highest over-under line of the week at 51, and QBs have had great days against the Saints secondary. The Saints secondary lacks something in coverage, to say the least. I would expect Rodgers to put up his usual 20-plus points this week and get close to returning value at his $9,000 price tag. Just keep in mind at $9,000, it's a little pricey, and you have to make some adjustments on the rest of your roster if you're going to play Rodgers at that stud value. The number 2 quarterback I have for you is Tony Romo at $7,400 this week. He is playing Washington at home on Monday Night Football. This game is actually tied with the Packers-Saints game as the highest over-under line of the week at 51. Romo has missed practice all week this week with back issues, but I think they're just giving him extra rest and a little bit of the veteran treatment for a great matchup against a weak pass D and a divisional matchup at that on Monday Night Football. Look for Romo to have a great week as well. The number 3 quarterback I have for you this week is Carson Palmer. He carries with him a $6,500 price tag, and the Eagles give up over 20 points a game to opposing quarterbacks. This game could be a shootout in Arizona, and I think Palmer makes a great play. The Eagles secondary is suspect. The 4th quarterback I have for you this week is that of Nick Foles at $6,300 at Arizona. Zonas D got statistically better last week after facing the Raiders, but I honestly don't buy that they really got better. After all, they played the Raiders. I think that there's a shootout brewing here in Arizona this Sunday. I think you want a piece of it, either from Foles, Palmer, or some of their targets, but make sure you get a piece of that game. The 5th quarterback I have for you this week is the risk-reward play, and this is Zach Mettenberger at $5,000 of the Tennessee Titans. He is playing at home versus the Texans. It's this simple. He's a rookie. He's at min quarterback value on the site. He has a decent matchup against the Texans secondary, and the Titans have a lot of weapons. The only question is will it all come together for Zach Mettenberger this week, and will he be able to give you the points he needs? At $5,000, he really only needs to hit a 15-point mark for him to return value. I think that you're going to be fine by making that play. There will probably be a couple of Poppa's lineups having Mettenberger at the helm. With the quarterback section taken care of like usual, we'll move on to running backs. The top running back I have for you on the board is a pricey one, but he's the best one, and that's Matt Forte of the Chicago Bears at $8,800. He is playing at New England at the Patriots. The Patriots' run D is suspect. It's in the bottom 10 of the league, and the teams that have beat the Patriots have ran the ball well and often against the Patriots to beat them, keeping Tom Brady off the field. We know that Forte's a beast and he keeps putting up monster games. I would expect him to return the value of $8,800 this week in what is a prime matchup. The number 2 running back I have for you this week is that of Marshawn Lynch of the Seahawks at $7,100, and he is at the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are the 31st ranked defense against the run this year, and Lynch is poised to have a monster The problem here is that the Panthers are also terrible against the pass, so it could go both ways. Then again, the Seahawks could just be really upset about last week's loss and come out and gun for the win via the ground and the air. There could be plenty of points to go around for all Seattle Seahawks players. I really like Marshawn Lynch this week. The number 3 running back I have for you is that of Lamar Miller of the Miami Dolphins at $6,000. He is at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars D is still bad. I wouldn't let last week's anomaly of them shutting down the Cleveland Browns change your opinion of how terrible the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is this year. I think the Jags got their one win for the season. They'll finish 1-15. Look for the Dolphins to give them a good thumping, especially on the ground this week via Lamar Miller. The number 4 running back I have for you, and if you'll notice I keep decreasing the prices on these, is Jerick McKinnon of the Vikings at $4,900. He's at Tampa Bay, and McKinnon keeps seeing more and more carries for the Vikings and keeps performing when they decide to actually give him the ball. I would look for him to play well against the Bucs defense that struggles against the run and against the pass. I think the Vikings are going to come out of this game victorious, and McKinnon should have a line between 15 and 25 fantasy points for you. In the number 5 spot, the risk-reward play for this week, here at Poppa's Picks, I saw a lot of really cool value running backs that have knocks on them for one reason or another, or are really beneficial to you to play for one reason or another. So I'm just going to list off what I saw as 5 value running backs for you to play this week on DraftKings if you're so inclined to play a dart running back approach this week. We have the first is Doug Martin of Tampa Bay at $4,400. He has what is a juicy matchup against the Vikings run D, but he hasn't performed. You also have Stephen Taylor of Arizona at $3,000. He gets a juicy matchup against the Eagles and performed well last week. His value is really low, and the running back in front of him, Ellington, is banged up with an ankle. Keep a watch on that. I think he's going to return value at $3,000 even if Ellington plays, but without Ellington playing, the sky's the limit for Stephen Taylor to this week. Another dart here is Travis Cadet for New Orleans. The New Orleans backfield is all banged up. They've got people out with shoulder injuries, ankle injuries, leg injuries. Travis Cadet is the only one healthy. He seemed to step into the Pierre Thomas role, catching passes very easily in a couple of games that Pierre missed. He is min value at $3,000. I like him this week to play the Pierre Thomas role since Pierre Thomas is out, and he may even see more carries with Ingram being banged up, along with Kyrie Robinson being banged up. The next running back I have for you is Anthony Dixon at $3,300. This Buffalo running back is literally the only running back healthy in Buffalo right now. He doesn't have the greatest matchup on paper, but at $3,300 and being the primary ball carrier, he could give you a really good return on your investment at $3,300. I like him this weekend as well. Then you also have the 5th and final risk-reward play at running back. I know I'm getting a little crazy here, but there's a lot of them I like, and I want you to be aware each and every one of them, is Denard Robinson at the Jacksonville Jaguars running back. He is priced at $4,600. Last week he was the prime ball carrier and put up over 20 points. He had a monster. I would expect him to do more of the same. The only question here is whether or not they're going to continue to commit to him as the ball carrier. I think they do. I think he makes a great play. Now that you have plenty to think over on the running backs, let's move right along to the wide receivers. The first wide receiver I have for you should be a surprise to no one. It's Jordy Nelson, and he's $7,800. I mean, what more do we need to say about this guy? He's a beast. He gets a sexy matchup on Sunday Night Football. He isn't crazy overpriced on the site. I don't think there's anything not to love here. I love Jordy Nelson. The number 2 pick I have for you at wide receiver this week is Dez Bryant at $6,900. He is playing Washington. And all that needs to be said about this matchup is Dez Bryant, Monday Night Football, a division game, high over-under, and a weak secondary that has a good run defense that will look to limit DeMarco Murray. Dez could explode for you on Monday Night Football and put up a monster. I'm going to be all over Dez this week. The number 3 wide receiver I have for you this week is Jeremy Maclin of the Eagles. He is at Arizona. He is the main target of Foles' offense, and Arizona surrenders points at will to wide receivers number 1. Look, Patrick Peterson and the Cardinals defense has not been the same since they sustained these injuries and since they've changed the rules on illegal contact in the NFL. I think Maclin and the Eagles offense will exploit this weakness and this vulnerability and put up a lot of points in what I have being a shootout, as I've already told you. The number 4 wide receiver I have for you this week is Doug Baldwin at $4,700 at Carolina. The Baldwin put up 28 points last week against the Rams. The Panthers secondary is just as bad as the Rams secondary. The question will be are the Seahawks going to pass the ball as much, and will Doug Baldwin see as much action if they're not trailing like they were against the Rams last week? I think you're still going to see plenty of action for Doug Baldwin. I think he returns value at his $4,700 price tag. The risk-reward play I have for you at wide receiver, and there were a bunch, but I narrowed in on one for you here, is Dwayne Bowe at $3,600 versus the Rams. Debo has been okay this season, but he hasn't been overly impressive. He gets what is a great matchup on paper. The Rams got torched last week by Doug Baldwin and pretty much every other Seahawk that played them. This could be Debo's coming out party for the year. I think the Chiefs will have to rely heavily on Debo this week, as Jamal Charles is up against what is a fairly decent run defense. I think you're going to get good value here out of Debo at $3,600. There's also some other wide receivers in the right at the $5K range all the way down to $3,400 that have some very interesting plays with some really good upside. Debo's my favorite pick out of that group. With wide receivers taken care of, and hopefully wide receivers that'll hit for all of us, let's move right along to the tight end position. At the first on the tight end board is Greg Olsen. He carries with him a $5,500 price tag. He's playing Seattle's secondary. Cam has learned to throw to his tight end this season, and Greg Olsen is playing at elite tight end status. Look for Olsen to continue this week. He and Kelvin Benjamin are the only legit passing options that Cam Newton has. They have a sketch running back situation, and they're down 2 guards this week on their offensive line, which means that he's going to have to rely on Olsen coming off those quick routes even more than normal, and what we've seen him do is put up monsters in the past. I look for him to have a huge game against Seattle, who is weak at defending the tight end. They're actually bottom 3 in the league. The second tight end I have for you this week is Rob Gronkowski at $5,900 versus Chicago. Gronk draws the Bears in a decent matchup. It's not one of the best matchups on paper, but as long as the Patriots remember that their offense runs solely through Rob Gronkowski, Rob Gronkowski will give you a value return on the investment of $5,900 every week. It's when the Patriots forget that they have to move the ball through their tight end to open up the rest of their offense that Gronkowski suffers, and when you put him on your rosters, you suffer as well. I think that Belichick and the Patriots have learned their lesson this season. I think they're going to focus on Gronkowski and getting him the ball. I think he has close to a 20-point day, if not more, this week. The number 3 tight end I have for you is Owen Daniels at $4,100 at Cincinnati. Owen Daniels draw the Bengals, who are statistically the worst team in the league against the tight end position, 32nd out of 32 teams in the NFL. He is set out of practice all week, but the Ravens say they're giving him veteran treatment, and I think that that's nothing more than the case. He had a big game last week. They're just trying to rest him up so he has a lot of fuel in the tank when they throw down against the Cincinnati Bengals, being that is how you exploit the Cincinnati Bengals this year. The 4th tight end I have for you this week is Jordan Reed. He is $4,000, and he's at Dallas. The Cowboys are much improved on defense. I hate to admit it, but I have to. They look a lot better. But that much improved defense still has a gaping hole in it, and it is to the tight end position. I believe Reed will be the focal point of the Washington defense this week. Of the Washington offense this week. I would look for Colt McCoy to rely heavily on his tight end, and hopefully he pans out and exceeds the $4,000 price tag. The 5th tight end I have for you is the risk-reward tight end of the week, and that is Charles Clay at $3,500. He is at Jacksonville. Clay of the Miami Dolphins is a yo-yo. He's constantly up or down, but he draws the Jags, who are a bottom 6 team in the league against the tight end. I have the Dolphins running all over the Jacksonville Jaguars this week, which in theory should open up the play action passing to Clay. I think Clay could have a really good performance. Just keep in mind, if you're going to roster Clay, that you may either get a monster or you may get a 4. That's how Clay seems to roll at the tight end spot, and that's why he's the risk-reward play that I have for you there. I hope you enjoyed Poppa's picks for Week 8 of the NFL season. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to get a hold of us here, or hopefully you can get them answered on fantasydonks.com, or you can reach me at Twitter at BIGPOPPADB8. That's at Big Poppa Debate on Twitter. I'll answer all your questions pertaining to daily fantasy or even regular fantasy football, your season-long leagues. Hopefully these picks make us a lot of money this week. And if I can't be the millionaire and the millionaire maker this week, hopefully it's you. And hopefully you enjoyed Poppa's picks. Have a good one and good luck this week.